Welcome to another episode of Another Man's Shoes. We are delighted to welcome onto the show today John Chart. John is a friend we've only met recently, but what an absolute top bloke. Former soldier, London Fire Brigade firefighter, world champion powerlifter, and also sadly suffering from motor neurone disease. But if anyone can beat this, he can. So he's going to take us through his journey today, and we're going to hear some quite harrowing stories from the London Fire Brigade and some of the incidents that he's attended through to his family life, and also what he's doing to beat motor neurone. Now, you're going to find that John is a proper character of a guy, London guy, and as soon as I got onto the call with him, he was straight into a joke. So I'm just going to sort of play that now. It's probably a little bit risque, and a few people might take offence, but it just goes to show the kind of guy he is, totally upbeat.
The Howard Stern cast. It was a good one. Do you know, what's that? Is it the Howard Stern show? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Where it's like, it was like how you're sitting in a studio, wasn't it? And he had guests. And he had David Blaine, you know, David Blaine, the old magician. So he's had him on. He's quite a good-looking fella, isn't he, David Blaine?
Yeah.
And they're sitting there talking, and David Blaine happened to have his new girlfriend on there, this German bird with long blonde hair, stunning. Yeah. He'd met her in a jeweller's in New York or something. So this caller's come on and he's talking. He's going, "Oh, say David, you're amazing, man. Your tricks are amazing. You know, when you was in the box over Tower Bridge for 44 days or whatever it was. Oh, you're incredible." He said, "And like some of your tricks are amazing." So David Blaine's sitting there all like how he does, and he really laid back, isn't he? Yeah. He's going, "Yeah, thanks, man, thanks." He said, "Say David," he said, "your girlfriend, very, very beautiful woman, beautiful, right?" And he's gone, "Yeah, thanks." He's gone, he said, "I was wondering if you could do a trick for me." And he's gone, "Yeah, go on." He said, "Yeah, whatever." And he's gone, "How about you make your cock disappear up your missus's arse?"
And so that was his intro. I haven't spoken to him for a few weeks, and he's straight into jokes. And that kind of embellishes the character that John is, that he just wants to go and he wants to live life to the full. He wants to be happy. He wants everyone else around him to be happy. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome John onto the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure, man.
Thanks. So you're a bit tired at the moment. You've been quite busy this week, haven't you?
I have, my friend. Yeah, we've just finished a 24-hour lift 1 million kilos challenge. So we were locked away in the gym over the weekend, and all of us individually had to lift 1 million kilos, believe it or not, to raise awareness for motor neurone disease and what have you. So yeah, good event.
That's an epic challenge. I mean, I don't think there's many people that complete that. I mean, 1 million kilos. What's that equate to in sort of time, and how many lifts?
It works out, in layman's terms, 695 kilos a minute, 47,000 kilos an hour for 24 hours. And that'll get you your total.
Yeah.
So,
and you're not sore?
Yeah, it's a fair whack. But what you got to do is you got to look at it, and I had to work it out. Obviously, with my arms being affected, we'll talk about that a bit more, no doubt. But with my arms being affected, I could only really use lower half, so like legs, abs, lower back. So what I had to do is I had to base it on leg press. I'd done thousands and thousands of reps of leg press. I only put 95 kilos on the machine because it's a combination of not doing too much weight wise to burn out, but not doing too little. Otherwise, you're playing catch up all the time.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort of find that. So yeah, it was hard. It was hard, mate, to say the least.
That's incredible. We'll touch a bit more on that in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that we're sort of helping you out with all this sort of stuff, but not having to join you. So I suppose let's start. I think anyone that's listening to this is obviously going to be able to tell from your accent that you're a London boy. So I suppose should we start sort of where did you come from? Where was John Chart formed? What made you?
So John Chart was a glint in the milkman's eye in Penge, South East London, SE20, and so I sort of like I was found on 16th of January 1971. Someone found me under a bush, a bit like the old World Cup. That was found by Pickles the dog just up the road in South Norwood in 1966. And then 5 years later, another dog didn't find such a big trophy. They found me.
Really?
So yeah, Penge, South East London. I was born, and I've sort of lived within a mile of where I was born really all my life. Beckenham, South East London, Kent, West class as Kent, but it's South East London. And here I am sitting pretty in Annerley, just near Crystal Palace at the moment, in the house with me and Arlene. So always a South East London boy.
You've seen that change quite a lot, I imagine, over the years.
Yeah, it has, mate. Some for the good, some for the bad, I think. It's the population I've seen change more. It's
What's it they say? London, is it more people live in London than the whole of Australia? Or some ridiculous statistic.
Yeah, I think it's getting that way, isn't it? I think we're getting all 10 million down here in London now, aren't we? And it's just not. It's just not. It's not the same. It's not the same, mate.
No,
it's not the same.
Understood.
Yeah.
But I think we've all been able to see it, but it's still a beautiful place to live. You've got all that on your doorstep. A lot of history.
Yeah, it's like yeah. I live in an affluent part of London, to be fair, as well. Where we live is a pretty nice area, to be fair. Beckenham, if anyone who knows South East London will know, Beckenham's a very nice area. It's a lovely town. A lot of people want to live there. It's not cheap, but then nowhere is now. So yeah, I'm very lucky, mate.
That's brilliant. So obviously you've sort of been brought up in that area. So where did you go to school? Was it sort of local comprehensive?
Yeah, again, all local. So I went to Bromley Road Infant School, which is in the centre of Beckenham, little village school. And then I went to Worsley Bridge School, again in Beckenham. And then I went to a rugby school, funnily enough. My senior school was a rugby school, Langley Park Boys School, which is a really good school. And I went there and done really well at school, got 10 O-levels, got 4 O-levels a year early. Stayed in, obviously, into the fifth form, got my other 6 O-levels, and I left straight away. And I didn't want to go on to uni or A-levels. I wasn't interested. Even though academically I was spot on, I always was. Academically I've never had a problem really doing anything in my life test wise. Academically I've been bang on. So I left school as soon as I could. Joined the bank, NatWest Bank. Worked for NatWest Bank for nearly 5 years uptown, up in London, up in South Kensington and Curzon Street, right by Shepherd's Market. In fact, just round the corner from the good old Chesterfield, about 100 yards from the Chesterfield was where I worked. Funnily enough.
We can't talk about Chesterfield on here. What happens if the Chesterfield stays?
It stays at the Chesterfield, mate, without a doubt.
So you did that in your early 20s, then you were doing the banking side of things?
Yeah, joined the bank at 16. Walked out of school, fresh face, 16, straight into the bank. Left the bank at 21. No, not just short of 5 years. And I applied to and got into the Fire Brigade, London Fire Brigade. But in the meantime, in between that time, I joined the TA. Okay. So I'd entered the TA and joined the good old D Company, London Irish Rifles at the Duke of York's HQ, which has got the 21 SAS alongside us. 10 para were based there. So we had a good setup there at the Duke of York's, actually. We had the old cinder track, so it was good.
That's still going, is it, that regiment, or is it long gone?
It's not. What happened, they amalgamated London Scottish, London Welsh, London Irish, the D Company, and a couple of other, I forget who they were now, Fusiliers, and they amalgamated them all into the London Regiment. Yeah. So they are still going as the London Regiment, and the Duke of York's itself is gone. That HQ's gone. All got sold off for property and whatever, which is tragic, really, because it was a wonderful old barracks there.
Yeah, some of those there's big old Victorian buildings there that we've been into in the past.
Yeah.
They're fantastic, but I suppose, development in London's a premium.
Premium, mate, especially there, King's Road. Yeah, yeah.
We won't need all those barracks anyway. There's only about 10,000 squaddies left now across the world. So
yeah, you can fit the whole military into Wembley Stadium, can't you, for a concert, apparently?
Not at 2 meters distancing, you can't.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So how long did you stay in the TA for? Did you spend a long time there?
I was in it. I joined in 88, so I would have been 17. Yeah, I've still got my oath of allegiance in a frame somewhere. May 88 is my oath of allegiance, and I left in 94. Sadly, I mean, don't get me wrong, tragically, I didn't want to leave. It was just I couldn't put the time in with being in the fire brigade because of my shifts and the way it works. You're very rarely getting the weekends off. So, totally. So it's just becoming difficult. I couldn't really put the time in. So I remember walking up with my kit back up to the Duke of York's with a heavy head there and walking in, and Culler Maloney was there. They were all issuing out the kit ready for their 2-week camp. They were going somewhere, Canada somewhere. And as I walked in with my kit, saying to him, "Oh, Colour, I've got to leave. I can't put the time." And he went, "Charty, mate," he said, "listen, you're the main man." He said, you got to come on the camp with us. He said, "I'll get you on there now." He said, "We're short of a few pods." Yeah. And I looked at him and I literally wanted to cry out, to be honest with you, And I ended up walking out of there with my 3 pairs of army socks, issue socks, because they let you keep those, in a bag, back on the tube, all welled up. The old eyes are welled up, and I was like, oh God, I was gutted. Gutted, mate. But I didn't have any choice, really. I had to make some sort of decision.
Well, trying to do the TA and trying to do the fire brigade, that's a difficult balancing act.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult.
Did you get to deploy anywhere when you're in?
No, I've done some great trips. We done. We was in Cyprus, funny enough, at Bloodhound Camp, and went out to Alcatiri. We was in Cyprus when they were flying all the Hercs and all the supplies over for the first Iraq War.
Yeah,
91. Yeah. So I was there August 90 in Cyprus, and all day, every day, the Hercules were coming in and over, dropping into Alcatiri and over. So what they did, you know Rosie, you're well. My old mate, my old sidekick.
That's a crate.
So top man, absolute lunatic. Yeah, you'd want him in your corner. But so me and Rosie are over there doing our usual antics. We grew up together, and we used to have such a laugh. When we was in the CA, we were the centre of. We were like the lifeline of that company. We had a nucleus. When we went out on the Razzle, when we went away on weekends, when we went on the 2-week camps, everyone wanted to be around me and Rosie. We would make it. We would make it what it was. So anyway, we were out there, and it was Dow's birthday, funnily enough. So we've all gone down into the Limassol, and then Dow ended up having a fight with half a dozen Free Queens blokes. They went out the back, and and he dispatched a few of the Free Queens lads, because he used to like putting his hands up, bless him. And I've got a good photo. I'll drag out next to you. I'll show you it of him with cuts all over his face for his birthday.
He's Power Reg at this point.
He wasn't. No, he was London Irish. We were both London Irish still, the old cool beans and all that sort of stuff. And so we were over there, and they set us up really, because being like really wide-eyed and sort of like rats up a drain pipe, anything like that, we were all over it. So what they decided to do was the regimental CO was over there, funny enough, at the camp at the time. I forget the fella's name now, but he took a liking to me for some reason. This was a lieutenant colonel, actually, his rank, this fella. I forget his name. Anyway, so we're over there. I'd had a bit of a fight on the beach the day before and lost me mod 90, me ID card in the sea. So I got a bit of a rollicking. They sort of they took me to a little court martial, and so I'm standing there trying not to laugh. And the CO saying, "Listen, Charty, blah blah blah, the seriousness of losing your ID and all the rest of it, etc. etc." And I went, yes, sir. Really sorry and what have you. He said, "But I do like you." He said, "There's something about you, mate." He said, "I'll be honest with you. I do like it." So he fined me 50 quid. He fined me 50 quid and sent me packing. So I was quite happy with that. I didn't get any more. So what they'd done, they set me and Rosie up. Anyway, they said, "Look, you've got a chance here of you and Rosie could go out to Iraq. All right, they need people to go out on the Hercules over to Iraq to Baghdad just to help with the loading and unloading on the Hercules. You up for it?" And I was like, "God, am I? Rosie's like, "Yeah, we're all over it." They said, "Well, what you need to do is ring your mum and dad's and just let them know, you're going to be going over there." So I've rung my mum and dad and told them. Dow's rung his mum and dad. We're all excited. Lance Cheese, our sergeant, our company sergeant, they're all in on it. I said, "Right, get yourselves together. You've got to go in and see the CO." So they marched us in double time, straight in to see the CO. He's there. He said, "Charty," I said, "I told you he was a good lad." He said, "Rosie, you're both good boys." He said, "So you're up for it?" He said, "You're up for going out there?" And I went, yeah, definitely, sir. Yeah, we're bang up for it. And then all of a sudden, we just got absolutely slated, mate. The water came all over us, and they absolutely slated us, CO and all. They loved it. So, yeah, and an hour later, we were completely naked in webbing, running up and down the drill ground, and the rest is history.
That's something you don't get, do you, on the outside? You don't get that sort of banter, that no one takes it serious. It's all a bit of fun.
Nah.
You don't get people crying.
It's bonding, mate. It's all part of the bonding, isn't it? You know that. It's different jobs require different bonding. And I don't care what anyone says, as Matt said, he had an interview, a pilot interview with Tom Allen, didn't he, the other day? And funny enough, I was at Matt's the other week. We had something around Matt's, and he played it, and it was hilarious. But they were talking about the swearing and the ethos in the military.
That's right.
And it is what it is. It is part of it. Swearing is part of it.
Well, it is. It doesn't sort of show that anyone's is stupid. It just basically emphasises in as few words as possible how you feel. And it's all character build, isn't it? Everything we went through, everything we do. And I think that's why everyone can bond so well. It doesn't matter what your history is and where you pass, where you come from. We've not known each other that long, but straight away there's that sort of click with everyone who's in that sort of circle.
Yeah.
And it's always been a struggle trying to find that on the outside.
It is, mate. It is. Yeah, it's hard. And nowadays, I think what's happened, unfortunately, over the last 20 years or so, and I think we'll all agree, over the last 20 years or so, they've tried to suck that part of that part of us out of us. They've almost tried to take the personality. I understand you've got to have a line. I get that with certain things like racism and prejudice, and things like that. But when you're talking about banter between groups of people, toughening us up and all that, they're trying to take even that part of things away.
Yeah.
They're trying to say that the odd swear word is wrong when, it's what we're brought up on. I don't know, it's hard to explain. I
know exactly where you're coming from. Yeah, just trying to take all the character away from us, just make us robots.
They want us to be robots. They want us to be yes men. That's what they want. And they do, until we're all yes men, we're going to be no man. I'm going to be a no man, and I'm going to continue to be a no man. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Getting to come join you down the gym, that'll soon change their ways. So you obviously come back and you've taken all that amazing skills that you've learned for fighting in Cyprus and losing your ID card, and you've gone full time in the fire service. Yeah,
so I joined the fire service. I always wanted to be a firefighter, to be honest. I'm only a little short, but I always wanted to be a firefighter, and so 1990, I applied. Me and Rosie, funny enough, and another good mate of ours, three of us applied together. We'd all watched Backdraft and thought we were the world's most incredible firefighters who could save the world. And Red Adair, I had these images of Red Adair and the rest of it. I came out of the cinema with my girlfriend and went, flipping hell, love, I've got to be a fireman. And it was quite weird, actually. And I went and joined. So I applied, and just by luck or whatever you want to call it, I got in. It was, something like 10,000 people applied for 300 spaces in the particular year I applied, and I was extremely lucky. I got in.
What's that involved for the assessment and training?
Yeah, it's difficult. So you had your usual application form. Once you passed that, based on what they liked on it, you had to go up and you had to do a series of tests. You had to do written tests. I flew through those. That was comprehension, maths, English, etc. Dictation, you had to write down a dictatory notes and whatever. I flew through those to the point that I'd done them so quick, I managed to write down the whole test on a bit of paper, shove it in my pocket, and then when I afterwards, then Dow and Rosie and our other mate, Danny Mills, they'd come around my house 2-3 times a week and learn the tests, to the point that I could say to them, right, question 20 on the maths test, what's the question? And they'd even know what the question is, let alone the answers. So we had that off to a T. They went up and passed the test with flying colours after that. So, yeah, done the test, done the interview, done the physicals. One thing I've never had a problem with is physicals either. I'm quite lucky, really, because I was good academically. I've got a photographic memory. So when I went to training school, so I got through all the tests. We had to do rat runs. I'll go through it. It's quite. Some of it's quite hairy, actually, to be fair. When you do your tests to become a firefighter, they want to know that you've got what it takes. So it's not just about being able to chuck a 13-stone fella on your back or person, should we say, and run down the road 100 yards. It's not about that. It's about having an overall, skill set. So you've got to have a certain amount of a certain mental skill set. You do have to have that. You've got to be able to work under pressure. You've got to be able to work as a team. You've got to be able to take the banter, because, again, like the military in the brigade, there's a lot of banter. A lot. When I joined, it was a Navy background. The fire brigade discipline code is based on the Navy discipline code.
Okay.
So it's a lot of ex-military in the brigade. A lot of them, a lot of ex-Marines, a lot of ex-para. Couple of lads I knew that were 21 SAS, funny enough, in the brigade. So, yeah, you've got to have a skill set. You know, when they're not just blokes that grab hose and squirt water, you know, the cold stuff and the hot stuff. It doesn't work like that. So, yeah, so I got in. Once I got in, you join training school, squads of 12 guys, 6 months training. Very, very intense. It's changed now. It's nowhere near as intensive, the training, as it used to be. You had to know absolutely everything, the ins and outs of a duck's arse, as we say. Yeah. You really did have to know everything. Stuff that you were never going to need to know, but you had to learn it still. So I excelled, luckily, you know, we all are who we are. It's not because I'm anyone different to anyone else. But I excelled. I got the top marks ever at training school, passed through. I got an award and what have you, so I done really well in the exams, done really well in the physicals, done really well in the practicals, running around. Trust me, running about on a drill ground all day with 70mm hose out in front of you, having to Dutch roll it and then charge it with 4-bar pressure, 8-bar pressure, try and control a branch out of, I don't know if you've seen it on the films. We have to do all sorts of weird drills, like branch out of control. So they'll charge a length of hose on the drill ground across a lot of playground area, and they'll put 8-bar of pressure through it, and that will then be whipping across that drill ground, snaking across. You get caught by that, it's going to snap your ankle all day long. That's going to snap your ankle. So you have to go through drills on trying to get that under control. Yeah, and that's quite interesting. You know, quite difficult. You know, live carry downs off the. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of dangerous stuff involved. You know, the BA, when you're going through what we call a rat run, which are all these series of cages set up. So what they do is we'll put the BA set on, and then they cover your face mask with what we used to call the nappies, which was just so you couldn't see. And then you're sent into these rat runs. And what they do is they're movable cage systems that are designed so they can change the route all the time. So you'll get sent in. You can't see what you're doing, so it's all by feel. They've filled the place with smoke as well, dry ice, and then you've got to try and make your way through this series of cages. You can be quite nervy if you've got a little bit of a problem with closed spaces, or you know, it can be a problem. And then you've got to go through a series of sewer pipes, and they go from the large one to the small one. And trust me, the small one, you wouldn't want your BA set packing up on you while you're going through it, because you're not going to get your hand on it. So if your BA set goes wrong, your breathing apparatus while you're going through that, because you have to have one hand in front of you and one hand behind you, and you use your feet and your hands to sort of drag yourself along in it, because that's the only way you can get through it. And if your set packs up in that, that's your lifeline. That's it, you've had it.
You got a radio or anything? Or was that?
Yeah, you've got a radio. The problem is that the old radios that we used to have were old handhelds, like what, you know, we had on job all day, just a normal handheld Kenwood radio, but it's on your belt. So you can't get to that to operate it. The newer Draeger sets and what have you now have like pressure talks and like pressure mounted things and what have you, and skull. Some of them you can even get like the skull mics in the helmets now. Okay. You know, just so we can get that communication all the time. So yeah, so I went there, done my training, excelled at training, came out, and then I went to Tooting Fire Station, was my first station. So went to Tooting, joined a lively watch, got chucked about a bit like you do as the sprog, as we call them. And so I was a sprog there. So you get chucked about a bit, you get a bit wet occasionally. Yeah, I had an initiation. They wetted me. They were a little bit, I don't know why. They sort of treated me with kid gloves. Don't know why. You know, I mean, I looked about 10. I was very young looking. I looked about 10. And my introduction was as I walked in on my first shift. One of the lads on the blue watch who was coming off, Nobby Clark, his name was, and he was coming off, and he poked his head in, and he had a little bit of a double take, because I looked really young, and he had a bit of a double take, and he saw me walking out my fire gear, going up to my first roll call, and he went, "Hello, son," he said, "nice of you to pop by on your way to school." And I just sort of looked at him, and I sort of had a bit of a dumb-looking grin on my face, and I went, you know, that was about it. That was my intro to Nobby. But don't worry, I got him back in 6 months anyway. He learnt his lesson.
So what's that involved
Like they
in?
all
Sort
did.
of your tooting fire station. You're there. You're the sort of the young sprog then. So what, you're making all the brews.
Yeah.
You're having to clean all the kit down.
Yeah,
You have to shout.
you're expected to do the usual. Again, a bit like the military, innit? You know, you're going to make the team with the governor. You're expected to run about, keep things clean, get down cleaning the fire engine more than all the other lads who will be sitting up there having their tea. And, just get amongst it, get down. So when you go on duty, every time you go on duty, you got to sign in, you got to do you got to check your BA set. So whatever BA set, whatever seating position you're assigned, so you might be number 3 on the pump, say, as opposed to the pump ladder. So you'll get on duty, you'll test your breathing apparatus. That's the first and most important thing. So you test your breathing apparatus, sign your logbook to say, yeah, that's all bang on, I'm happy with that. Then we normally are going to have a cup of tea, and then you'll be down within half hour checking all the equipment. Every shift, all the equipment has to be checked on the fire engine. Make sure it works properly. You know, we've got a lot of life-saving equipment on there. Not so much that when I joined, but now we've got defibrillators. We've got, you know, a lot more technical equipment. Yeah. What we're trained to do is a lot more than what you see us do, if that makes sense.
I can imagine. I mean, we don't really ever come across the fire brigade that often. You might see them whizzing past you down the street, or you hear about a fire at the end of the road or a car accident, but we probably don't appreciate how sort of diverse your skill set is. Because, when you turn up to an accident or you turn up somewhere, you don't know what you're going to face.
No. I mean, I've had some good ones. I drove the fire engine for 23 years, which was a pleasure as well. It always gives you a bit of a buzz, even if you go into something which seems mundane. Your buzz is in getting there. You know, so every shout's a bit of an adventure because you're booting a 13-ton fire engine down the road. It can be quite hairy but enjoyable. But we had some serious incidents, mate. To be fair, I mean, I had my first, for want of a better way of putting it, my first dead person I saw in. So I'd been there about 3 months, and we was eating our breakfast, and we got caught to a guy had jumped under the train at Tooting tube station. So obviously we turned up there. We're running down there with equipment and what have you. You can see where the train is along the platform, so you know where your casualty is. Yeah. So when we got him out, and he was on the platform, and basically the train wheel had gone over him to the point there was just like literally a little bit of his midriff left joined. So they'd got him on with all the drip, you know, all the fluids into him and what have you. And the governor's gone to me, hold his hand. So I'm holding his hand. And like his whole body was shaking. You know, when you see it's like watching a film. His whole body was just completely shaking. And I was holding him, you know, there I was, this young 21-year-old, just still got a mouthful of my blooming breakfast. We was only 150 yards from Tooting tube station. And then the guy just died holding my hand. His whole body just started in convulsions, and just like literally, it's like I'd never seen anything like it. And I didn't really know what to feel. I felt a bit numb. So we went back to the station when it was all over and we was chatting about it. Yeah, and then it wasn't long again before my next one came along. And then, you know, I had a few jumpers under the trains over the years. You know, I've had to wash body parts off the lines, you know, where they've jumped and mistimed the jump, you know, and got it wrong. Head's gone through the driver's window at a cab. Not nice for the driver. You know, where it was, one of them jumped too high and not gone under the train at the front of it. I've seen all sorts. I would say a young 14, 15-year-old boy who got run over by a grabber lorry. I'd say that's probably one of the saddest things I saw. And when we turned up,
he's on a bike, was he, or something?
That's it. Yeah, he was down by St George's Hospital, the bottom of Tooting High Street near Collier's Wood, and he'd come up the left-hand side. So if you imagine you've come to a set of traffic lights, it's got 2 lanes. The left-hand lane, obviously, to turn left. The boys come up the inside of the lorry, the grabber lorry, to go straight on. So the lights have gone green, and the young lad's taken off on his bike. The grabber lorry didn't see him down the side of him; he's just turned left and gone straight over him. And that was awful, mate. That was awful. It had twisted his body, so his body was like a corkscrew. It twisted him twice on himself, so it snapped his spine. It was awful, mate. I won't go into too much detail.
No. Not at all. But I think one of the things we did talk about before was obviously the perception of members of the public when you're trying to help out when your injuries, you're at a roadside, sort of an RTA, or they call it something else these days. Is it RTAs anymore? What have they called
RTCs now? They call them road traffic collisions now for some bizarre reason.
Yeah, so that's probably some sort of PC side of it. And
it's got to be, mate.
Same as STDs and STAs, whatever they were. You were saying, weren't you, that you could be at an accident and someone might be stuck in a car or stuck underneath it, and you might have a compression injury or something, but you can't just lift the car off them. You can't just take them out of there. Whereas members of the public say, "Why are you getting them out of there?" And
that's it.
You've got to go through a process, because actually, in trying to hurry it and save their life, you could end up ending it.
Well, you can end up ending someone's life, because if they're depending on what's trapped or how it's trapped, that blood then that can't get through the heart and the lungs to reoxygenate and take all the CO2 and all the toxins out of it. Yeah, because our body, as you know, our system, it rolls around. So we're breathing in, we breathe in that oxygen, we oxygenate that blood, get it all in our body. Our amazing system we've got, the heart pumps that around our bodies to the extremities and what have you to give us our life. And then it pulls it back in to then take all the toxins out of it. The blood goes through certain parts of the body where the liver, all sorts of things, which clean that blood then, take all the bad bits out of it, and then back through, reoxygenates it, and away it goes again. Now, if you're trapped, a certain part of your blood, if it's trapped from then going round through that system and keep reoxygenating and cleaning and detoxifying, it becomes very toxic and very dangerous. There's no oxygen in it, a lot of CO2 and a lot of toxins. So if you then released someone, you hear about it all the time on the news. A granny lifted a car off of a granddaughter who got run over or something, and or someone lifted a bus. Apparently, you hear about it all the time. Forget about those amazing feats of strength where it's like literally head off, cabbage on, which is a different conversation. You release someone, that blood then hasn't been detoxified, hasn't been oxygenated, it goes through and it can kill you. You can have a heart attack, because it's a toxic heart attack. So when you see someone trapped there and you see the police, the ambulance, the brigade working on them for an hour, 53 minutes it took us to get that young lad out from under that lorry. Sadly, he passed away. And it was tragic, because the difference in the look of him from when we turned up, when you would have thought there was nothing wrong with him, banging on the wheel, saying, "Get me out," to how he looked and how his body was reacting when we got him out, it was absolutely horrific. It was tragic, and it was awful. But we couldn't get him out any quicker. We couldn't. So trap injuries are a danger in themselves. The trapping can actually kill you itself.
Yeah, it's something you don't really appreciate. So you just think, oh, you're trapped, I think I was listening to something the other day about someone saying if you're sort of hanging upside down for too long, it's amazing sort of the damage that it can do to your body. And you see these people that sort of try and sleep upside down, they've got bad backs and all these different sort of contraptions, but it's got to be very well timed. And
8 minutes roughly. I mean, I've got a gravity table. I hang upside down each day, but you shouldn't do it for 5 to 8 minutes maximum. Yeah, because it's putting a lot of pressure in your skull. Because what it's doing good, obviously, because your head's a lot heavier part of your body than you think. It's a lot heavier than you think. So by hanging upside down, what you're doing is you're stretching your vertebrae out very slightly, and that releases pressure. Releases pressure on your discs. If you've got a disc problem, if you've got a neck injury, a crook neck, it's an amazing thing to do. It's literally gravity therapy. Yeah, it's an amazing thing, but you can't hang on there too long. Yeah, it can cause you a lot of problems.
I can't know that for next time. I remember when I was a young dad, I used to put my daughter into one of those jumper things. Do you remember you used to hang them off the door?
Yeah.
And, they'd climb into it and they'd just jump up and down, and it would say on there, no longer than 2 minutes. I thought that was just because, they wanted you to be a good parent and just not leave your kid in there all day. But I think having this conversation, I realised it was probably some sort of compression thing to stop the legs.
Brain shake, I
think I got 20 minutes out of my daughter one day on that. So,
jeez, crikey.
Yeah, she can't walk very well now. But
no wonder she can speak 8 languages, you know what I mean?
Yeah, most of those, the dad can have some money. But
and she wears a traffic cone as a flipping hat. You know what I mean? Might be something the way her dad treated her when she was younger.
Keep child social services away. And so I suppose, but that was quite an interesting point, though. So you've obviously must have had members of the public in the past. Have you had incidents where you've had to call the police in to sort of keep the members of the public away because they've sort of maybe intruded?
Yeah, not so much for obviously that trap side of things. I'll get on with it, but we have had to call the police. Yeah, I've been involved with a few instances where there's a small riot, and we're trying to get in there to put these cars out, and they're just stoning us, bricking us, chucking everything they can at us. So in the end, I literally turn the hose wheel on them. and just took them out. But then we have to retract as quick as we can because obviously it doesn't help the situation. But we've had to call the police for other things as well. You do get so. I mean, I'll be honest. The day I turned up in Churchfield Road in Beckenham, and we got called to someone who had mental issues, and when the police were there with riot shields, and when they eventually got the door open, you can imagine it sent shivers up my spine. We were confronted with a guy who had a broom handle, and he had 2 metal knives taped to the end of the broom handle, and both of those metal knives were wired to his mains plugs. So he was standing there with this lance of 2 knives on the end of a wooden handle that were wired to 240-volt electricity, trying to force it towards the old bill. Yeah, that was pretty frightening, to be fair. Yeah, that was frightening.
You see a few things.
So, I've seen all sorts of things. You know, it's not nice when you see dead people. I mean, 2 Christmases in a row we had in Beckenham, and I got Phil Chambers, our sprog at the time, actually, to go in there. And he knew there was a dead bloke in there. He just didn't want to open the door. So we got him in there. We got him to climb through the window of a flat. The guy hadn't been seen for about 6 weeks. And there was an horrible smell coming from his flat. So anyway, we said to him, right, get yourself up there, Phil. Get yourself in. So he's climbed in through the window. And he's looking around and he said, no, I can't see anything. I said, and we're shouting him. We've gone, right, have you opened every door? You opened every door? And he went, yeah, I've opened all the doors. He said, there's one more door to open, like, into the kitchen. And I've gone, have you opened it then? And he went, no, not yet. I said, why haven't you opened it? And he was shitting himself, basically. He didn't want to open it. So anyway, we got up in the flat, opened the door, and there he was. The fella was lying on the floor. He'd been there 6 weeks. But the gas was still on his cooker, and he had a tourniquet around his eye up on heroin at the time. Okay. And it gave him a heart attack. So he's fallen over, bosh, straight on the floor, dead. Gas still on, with a spoon still on the gas where he'd been heating it. And basically all these fluids, as you know, when you die, your body releases a lot of fluids all over the floor. It wasn't a pleasant smell, to be fair. Wasn't pleasant, but, you know, Phil just didn't have the balls to open the door, to be honest with you.
It's a difficult thing.
And we've had a few of those. Yeah. Had a few of those. Say again, sorry.
It's not something you can train for, is it? It's
not.
Try and prepare people, but until you've actually been in that situation, you've seen it, you don't know how someone's going to cope and how they're going to react.
Yeah, you don't. You don't know how they're going to cope. You know, I mean, you don't know how they're going to cope. When you turn up to an RTC, as we call it, near Dulwich College, and the guy had clipped the pavement, and his car had spun over, and his wife didn't have a seatbelt on. So she's come out the sunroof, and it took the top of her head off like a boiled egg. As the car rolled over, her brains come out, through the force of the accident and the trauma. So the car's now lying on its side, driver's side. The guy's lying there, half awake, half not, smashed up. His 2 boys are in the back. They've been thrown around like in a food processor because they didn't have their seatbelts on. And his wife's brain was 2 foot from his head, lying on the floor. And it was at night, so the paramedics have turned up. There's a few people gathering around there now. The paramedics have turned up. The paramedics come straight up to the car, see what's going on, and trod in his wife's brain that was lying on the floor, 2 foot from the geezer's head. So, that weren't a nice one.
It's not. How do you sort of cope with that, like mentally? I mean, is there support and help there if you need it, if you're sort of struggling?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I never found I needed support, Adam, to be honest with you. I dealt with it my own way. I just got back to the station, and the way I dealt with it, as crude as it sounds, is I'd almost make a joke of it. And that's what we did. We'd almost make a joke of it. We'd have a laugh and go, well, blah, blah, blah. I won't say what we said, but we'd have a joke of it. But as you know, because the way you deal with it.
That is a coping mechanism, isn't it? I think a lot of humans.
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism. And it's only probably 3 times in the 27 near-on years I was in it that I really got back to the station and felt quite upset. That young lad was one of them. When a guy died on a roof was another time and another time. But the things that changed me, really, if I'm being totally honest, the human cost of lives and what have you, is when my daughter died. That changed things. And my daughter was born. She had a little complication when she was born. That in itself wasn't the end of the world. She was born with something called gastroschisis, which is where your stomach grows outside your body. It's like a little small hole forms in the stomach wall. Yeah. And inside the womb, the stomach is actually growing outside of her little body. So when they're born, she was born slightly premature, 5 weeks premature. They tuck the tummy back inside how it should be and sew it back up. So she had that, and then when she was 16 days old, she contracted a very, very a virus called necrotizing enterocolitis. So necrotizing means to eat living tissue. Okay. It's necrotizing. So she caught this virus and was rushed there and was told if it is what they thought it was, she wouldn't survive the night. So she managed to survive the night, 2.5 hours waiting there while she was down in surgery, brought her back up in the incubator and said, look, it's not what we thought it was, but unfortunately what she has got could well kill her anyway. So for the next 8 weeks, we had her stomach open. We had to leave her stomach open with a special bag over it and a part of her gut poking out to see if that would repair, if her gut could repair, because your body's, will repair what it can. And unfortunately it didn't. So they had to cut away most of her bowel. And then when she was nearly 1.5 years old, her liver packed up. And we had to rush her up to Guy's Hospital. And she was up there for 9 days on all the top machines, oscillating machine, all sorts of stuff, mate. It's hard to explain. And basically, 8 days in, the specialist took us into the room and said, look, this is where Gracie was. Gracie was here when she came here. She's still here now at the same level. She hasn't got any better. She hasn't got any worse. She said, our job is to keep her going as long as we can, and we intend to do that. But we, in our expert opinion, within the next 48 hours, your daughter's going to die. Unfortunately, because her lungs have stretched so much on these machines, the oscillating machine, which pumps, her whole body was shaking basically, like, because it pumps air at very small pressures, like pulses into the lungs. They said within the next 48 hours, her lungs are going to collapse in and she's going to die. So you may want to consider doing the right thing maybe for her. So we went away, and as tragic as it was, 3:00 the next afternoon, we arranged and turned the life support machines off. And mate, it was it broke my heart, to be honest with you. It broke my heart.
That must be one of the most awful things anyone would ever face. I mean, you can't put that into words.
It was heartbreaking, Ed. It was heartbreaking, mate. My sister, who you met on the ride, Cheryl, was with me, holding my hand, and the doctor just hit the power button in the cubicle. They had one just master power switch, and they hit that, and basically she was dead straight away. The machines were keeping her alive, basically. She died 2 seconds. Because they put their hand on the pulse, and when they turn the machines off, they check the pulse, and her pulse just was not there.
Yeah. So did you take away something, there was no suffering at the end, and it was? Yeah,
there's no suffering. The awful side of it, though, Adam, was for all the dead people I've seen, and I've seen a lot of dead people in my time. When my own daughter was dead, and 20 minutes later, her hair had gone grey, her skin had gone yellow. Every part of her little body where we'd had to put a needle in over the 1.5 years she was alive, all the bruising came out. To be honest with you, it looked like she'd been in a car crash. Both her eyes went black, like blackened and swollen, yellow. It was awful. It broke my heart when I saw those photos a couple of weeks later. It broke my heart, mate. It broke my heart, and that took a lot to get through that. And it changed my opinion and how I felt when I saw other people dying and die.
Where was that? Was that at the Guy's Hospital that she was at?
That was Guy's, mate. Yeah, she was at Guy's Hospital. So, every time I go past Guy's, which is quite a lot actually, I'm up that way all the time. I always sort of look up to the sort of windows of the main tower there where she was, and it leaves a little bit of a lump in my throat. But it was tragic. It was a tragedy in my life. And, you got to deal with it, mate. Time stands still for no one. It will not stop for anyone. So you move on. I've got 4 boys now, 4 the most amazing boys in the world. They are my main men, all of them. As you know, you've met Chris. Yeah. You know Chris very well.
Oh, he's a machine. Was he 15, 16 years old?
15, mate. Yeah, just he was. Just I think he was 14 on joggle. I mean, or was he? Or just done 920 miles on his own bike. He done the 24-hour lunge challenge with us a couple of months back. He abseiled off the orbit at the Olympic Stadium a couple of months ago. We done that for raising awareness. That was terrifying. Yeah. And then we done lift 1 million kilos this weekend, and he done that, and he lifted 1 million kilos.
Bloody hell. I mean, at 15 years old, that is impressive, isn't it? I mean, he's definitely going places. He's got a bright future ahead of him. He has.
Yeah, he has. He's going to go places, and he's just such a good lad. He's respectful. Everyone loves him. He's just such a good all-round lad.
Well, I think we'll touch on that a bit more in a minute when we sort of talk about obviously the next step. So, as you were sort of coming out of the fire brigade, you're obviously a big guy. You were so we were talking about this earlier because obviously the logo for the MND is a set of weights, sort of barbells, and you were the world's biggest. What was your title? World firefighting.
So I done. So I was a power lifter, which is it's 3 lifts. It's squatting, bench press, and deadlift. So you do 3 lifts. You do 3 of each. So you do 3 squats, 3 benches, 3 deadlifts, and obviously your total is added up of your 3 heaviest lifts. So I did that, and I went all around the world powerlifting. I powerlifted for Great Britain. I powerlifted for the brigade. I done all the world police, fire, and prison games all around the world. I won 5 gold medals. I've got a couple of world games records still, but raw deadlift and a couple of others I got in Barcelona in 2003. And then I dedicated a couple of my gold medals. I dedicated my gold medal from New Zealand. I dedicated to my daughter. I had her name inscribed on the back. Yeah, and I was the world's strongest fireman for 6 years in a row. So, yeah, I achieved more than I wanted to. Really, I think, Adam. I just wanted to do it. My dad was a bodybuilder when he was younger, and I was always strong for my size. So someone said, "Why don't you utilise that and do something with it?" So yeah, I did that, and yeah, the powerlifting was a good sort of leveler for me because I was a bit of a wild one. I did used to go off on one, so it's a good leveler.
Yeah,
it's good discipline as well. Good discipline.
Well, you got to be, you got to have your form. You got to get your diet in place, your exercise, your regime. You're trying to train with that and do work and family life. It's not just talking about going to the gym for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and then I met some good people doing the powerlifting. I met a good mate of mine, Terry Smith, who was a sergeant enforcer of the North London chapter of the Outlaws Bikers. And so I was going down the Outlaws Clubhouse with Terry. I mean, some of the things you saw there would make your toes curl. I mean, some of the characters, like the powerlifters, I used to do the security work with and what have you, they were all immense. Tony Stevens, multiple times world champion, IPF Hall of Famer, used to go and do competitions with Bill. Do you remember Bill Kazmaier, the old world's strongest man guy, like one of the greatest ever? Massive lump. Tony and Bill used to go and have breakfast and they'd be eating 10 Dynabol, steroids for their breakfast before a competition, because back then steroids were allowed.
Yeah, didn't test it. On you went.
Yeah. So Tony, I met some amazing people. He's an IPF Hall of Famer. He's an all-time one of the greatest powerlifters ever. And met some immense people, and there's some great times doing that. So good fun.
But when I was watching the world's sort of strongest man, you sort of watch over the years, and it sort of says, "Here's Magnus, what's his face, and here's an American guy."
Yeah.
But a lot of them actually they are coppers and they're firemen and stuff. It seems that maybe that sort of career takes you down. It's a natural.
I think it does, mate. I think the military as well. I think the military career takes you that way because, like I say, a lot of firemen or firefighters are ex-military, and I just think you find in those particular jobs you get a lot of sports people. A lot of people that are into sport in whatever way, shape or form, that in the military, you get a lot of people that are into their sport. I know it might start out as running and fitness, but they go into various sports. But, we're around people that have been in that sort of lifestyle, aren't we, all the time? With your background, look, it's all about fitness. Regardless of your speciality with the comms and what have you, regardless of your speciality, it's all around the fitness, isn't it? Even with you.
Mental as well. I think, people used to say, you've got to be able to run as fast as you can. You've got to be able to hit these timings. But I think I was never the fastest runner. I was never the strongest bloke. But I think a lot of it's mental as well. And people forget that.
Yeah, mind over matter, without a doubt. Your mind is everything. Your mind can get you through something. All these challenges I've been doing, it gets me through it. I've got to focus on really, I'll just focus on it and say, in my head, I say, yeah, look, I know it's going to be hard. This is going to get hurt, but it's a challenge. It wouldn't be called a challenge otherwise. This is going to get hurt. Dig in and smash it, do it. And I do.
Well, yeah, you certainly do. And that's probably a really good time to start talking about that. So obviously you've done some pretty epic challenges recently. I think I've known you now sort of 6 months.
Yeah.
And every month you're just doing something. I think I wouldn't do that if they paid me. I mean, I don't think I could do that if they paid me. But so I mean, obviously it's all started because you found yourself poorly a few years ago. So can you touch on that?
Yeah. So for all my colourful life, I've been very lucky. I've travelled a lot, met a lot of good people. I've got a lot of good friends, good family. Kept myself fit, kept myself strong all the time. Anyone I tell you who's known me all my life, oh, John, the strongest person I've met. You'd have fit. What's all this? And anyway, so 5 years ago, I started getting a bit of twitching in my right bicep. It was just twitching, and I was sitting there thinking. I had a couple of court cases going on at the time, Crown Court, and I thought that's not right. Maybe that's a bit of anxiety. I don't know. So I went down to the doctors. She said, yeah, it's probably anxiety. You've got your court stuff going on. Take some beta blockers. So she gave me propranolol. I took that. That didn't really do anything. So a few months later, I went down there and said, I was talking to her about something else, I think. And then I just mentioned it. And I said, oh, by the way, yeah, the propranolol didn't really do anything. It's still twitching the arm, the bicep and tricep. So she referred me to neurology. I didn't really think anything of it at the time. Went there, had an MRI scan on my brain. That came back fine. All the time I was losing muscle in my right arm. So my right arm was starting to waste. Yeah. I was struggling to pick things up and, clearly it wasn't right. I've been strong all my life. So I started getting a bit panicky and saying to the specialist, look, please, can someone help me here? Something's not right. So they'd done a couple of other scans on my neck and said, look, from all your powerlifting days, we can see you've got a lot of compression there in your neck from and more than likely your nerves are trapped. So if we can do this operation on your neck and release them, there's a chance you could get that atrophy in the muscles, the wasting of the muscles back, depending on how bad the nerves are. Yeah. So I went, okay. So this went on another year, Rod. I'm waiting, I'm losing more strength, more power, more muscle. And in the end, I sent a couple of desperate emails to the doctors and said, look, please, someone help me here. Someone help me. I'm really worried I'm going to lose everything. And then April last year, so April 2019, I went up to King's College Hospital and had another neurology appointment. And then they called the chief neurosurgeon in, Dr. Selway. And he just basically put it straight to me. And he said, John, look, I know you've got your neck problem. We can see that with your MRI. He said, but I'm being honest with you. He said, that amount of muscle and strength loss in that arm is a little bit more than a neck injury. And I said to him, right, okay. I said, I've got to be worried here or what? And he said, well, it could be a number of things. Let's do some more tests. So I was blunt with him and I said, look, just talk to me like man to man here, mate. So I know you're not giving me a diagnosis. And he mentioned single limb motor neurone disease and other things. Anyway, he said, look, let's do some more tests and get a more accurate picture of what's going on. And then May, I had an EMG test where they dig needles in your muscles and listen to what the muscles are doing. And I went back and she was chatting to me, my neurologist. How are you, John, et cetera, et cetera. I went through everything again. Arlene was waiting outside in the waiting area for me. She'd insisted on coming down in her car to wait for me. And I'm glad she did now. And anyway, the neurologist was talking away, and she said, so it got to your neck, and then before we wanted to do this operation, which can be quite difficult, we wanted to check you had nothing else going on. She said, and that's when we realised, after doing your EMG, we noticed that's when we realised your nervous system's getting attacked. She said, we have a name for these diseases. She said, you've probably heard of it. And then, if I'm being totally honest, Adam, I sat there and shat myself, literally, because I straight away thought, don't tell me motor neurone disease. And the reason I said that and had motor neurone disease in my head was because one of my mates on my old watch at Tooting died of motor neurone disease. Mickey Macy, he got diagnosed and was dead in a year. And it was tragic. And again, a fit guy. So I'm sitting there thinking, don't tell me that. So she waffled on a bit more about a few other bits and pieces. All her tone had changed, and I really did panic, actually. Inside, I was thinking, no. So I'm sitting there, how I am now, really, with my elbows on my knees. And she said, right, John, she said, she took a deep breath. She looked like she was going to cry herself, so I knew it weren't good. And she took a deep breath and she said, right, she said, I'm going to tell you what name we have for these diseases, John. She said, this motor neurone disease. And my eyes welled up instantly. I looked her in the eyes and I said to her, so you're telling me I'm going to die? And she said, well, there is no cure for it. There's not a lot we know about it, or not a lot we can do. There's one drug out there which could possibly give you 3 months extra to live. And that's it. Basically, go away, make your plans, because there's nothing we can do for you. And the next day I went up to King's College Hospital and had a confirmed diagnosis with my now neurologist, top guy, Jameen Sridharan. He agreed with the diagnosis, because there is no 100% diagnosis for motor neurone disease. They rule out everything else. They test you for MS, all the other autoimmune diseases. Once they've ruled everything out, they label you with motor neurone disease, basically, because there's no biomarker yet they found in the body to be able to say, yeah, we tested you for that. That's why you've got motor neurone disease. We know you have because of that.
Because you haven't got anything else, you can only then.
So basically, because they can't find anything wrong with me, they actually label me with that. So it's just a label for a range of diseases, basically.
This must be a huge thing. You're standing there trying to take this on board. What were your feelings at the time? It must have been overwhelming.
Unbelievable, Ed. And first thing, I just wanted to go back and tell the boys I had to. So Arlene drove me back. I was crying, and I walked in, and Chris and Ollie got up. Luke was only 3 then. He was playing. Chris and Ollie got up. Jake, my other boy, lives somewhere else just up the road. And Chris has jumped straight up, arm around me. He's gone, Dad, what's the matter? What's up? And I said, look, I've just come back from the hospital. I said, we know I've got my neck injury and obviously my arm and what have you. And he's going, yeah. And I said, look, I've just come back from the hospital and I'm a bit more ill than we thought I was, boys. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, look, I'm not going to lie to you. If I'm as ill as what they say I am, I'm going to die. And like, we're all crying, it's just, mate, it's heartbreaking, Ed. And I'll be honest with you, I found it very difficult. And we went up London the next day. It just, I couldn't stop crying, mate. And my boys, Chris and Ollie, just kept hugging me. And it was awful, mate. It was awful. And we took photos being up London. My sister Cheryl came down from Hereford that night, cancelled her holiday. She was meant to be going on that day. And we all just went up there. And I went up London and I just kept crying. I couldn't stop, really. Every 20 minutes, I burst out crying. And I just didn't think I was going to make my 48th birthday. And all I thought about was my boys. They don't deserve this. How can these boys be going and telling their mates at school, no, my dad died of motor neurone disease. I just kept. And then I had this image of my own funeral. And I pictured my youngest, who's 4, walking in, with his mum holding her hand and saying, oh, look, there's Dad, my coffin at the front with my picture on top of it. And him not really knowing anything about what's going on and sitting there going, oh, look, it's Dad. Seeing that picture of me on my coffin and being at my funeral, mate, just broke my heart. Honestly, it's awful.
It's a tremendous thing you're sort of having to carry. But you've taken some massive positives from it. I mean, it seems to sort of, obviously you're looking for anything that will help ease your symptoms. You're getting the word out there, because motor neurone is really not something that's well known about. And I think a couple of years ago, is it called ALS in the States?
Correct. Yeah, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is called. Yeah, in America, which means many scars. That actually equates, and it means many scars. Lateral sclerosis is scars, so they leave scars in your cells. This disease. So that's what that stands for. So it's called ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, in North America, and it's called MND, or motor neurone disease, everywhere else. And people will probably be able to remember MND if I say that. Obviously, Stephen Hawking. Everyone knows who Stephen Hawking was. That's the awful disease that Stephen Hawking suffered for 55 years with.
There's a cure out there, isn't it? But it's a question of funding, and I suppose there's so many different diseases out there. There's only so much money, but it does feel like this year motor neurons has come into the fore. I see it everywhere, and there's obviously been a number of celebrities who've contracted it. It always does seem to be sports stars, sort of rugby players, I suppose it's a sad thing to say, but I suppose we need people who are in the public eye to get some sort of disease like this, because then they'll probably be more interested in it and people want to know more and help raise more money. And ultimately, that's what's going to help us find a cure for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, mate. I mean, the massive thing that's going on at the moment, the Rob Burrows thing with Kevin Sinfield just having done 7 marathons in 7 days, raising 2.5 million more than Doddy Weir, with his foundation, Stephen Darby, the ex-football player. What a lot of people don't know is David Niven, the first ever James Bond, died of motor neurone disease. No one knew that. Ronnie Colbert died of motor neurone disease. No one really knows about that. Don Revie, the ex-England manager, died of motor neurone disease. The ex-England football manager. People don't know. Joos van der Vesthuizen, the ex-South Africa scrum half, tragically died of motor neurone disease in 2017. People don't know this, and I don't understand why. It's almost like it's the dirty word of neurological diseases. No one seems to want to talk about it or get it out there. And yet it's probably the most life-shortening of all of the neurological diseases.
It is. Where do people go if they want to learn more about this, or if they want to maybe sort of support it in some way? Is there an MND page, or is there anywhere where they can give money? What I would invite people to do is, first of all, just go on Google and type in motor neurone disease and read up on it. And just see what an awful, heinous disease this is. And it really is. I've got the lucky side of it, limb onset in my arms. Many people who have motor neurone disease are dead within a couple of months. And they can go from being perfectly all right one day to not being able to walk within a couple of days, to not being able to talk within a couple of days, to not being able to breathe within a couple of days. This disease is awful. 80% of us will lose our ability to talk and breathe. 8 out of 10 of us are dead in 2 to 3 years. 50% of us die within a year of diagnosis. Today, 6 people will be diagnosed with motor neurone disease today in the UK, and 6 people will die of it today. It's an awful disease. So if people could just read a little bit about it, understand that the Ice Bucket Challenge was about raising awareness for it, albeit it was called the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. And just get the word out there, Adam. They can see our page, Cycle Challenge for MND. Look on there, on Instagram, on Facebook. Follow us, see what we're doing. We will.
As they know, you'll be involved in some of the challenges next year, I'm sure, mate, like you were this year, with a joggle.
Yeah, and they're great challenges, really getting the word out there, and that's all we want. We just want to sort of help spread and get the understanding out there, and just hope that it just gets more money in, because ultimately it's a disease that's only going to be fixed by getting money into it to try and find the cure.
Exactly. Get the awareness, get the funding, get the cure. There is a cure out there. They're knocking on the door for a cure for motor neurone disease. Make no bones about it. I won't make any bones about it. It's a fact. They're knocking on the door. They really are close to something big with it. And I'm hopeful if I can hang on in there long enough, and God only knows if I'm doing something that's slowing it. They say there's nothing that can slow it. But God only knows, I've met people that have had the same symptoms as me, and they're a lot further down the line than me now. Their legs have gone. My legs are still strong, or other parts of their body have gone. So who knows? What I'm doing might be holding it off. If I can be in it long, for the next if I can stay in it and stay alive for the next 2 years, 2 to 4 years, I reckon I'll be around for a cure.
Yeah. No, we're all obviously holding out and hoping that happens, because you're doing some sort of alternative therapies, aren't you? Which to try and obviously assist.
Yeah.
So you got the chamber.
Yeah, I've got the chamber, as you know. I've got the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. I'm on 60 odd hours on that now. If you read up what hyperbaric oxygen does in the body, you would expect it to do something good for me. It promotes stem cell regrowth in the spinal cord. It promotes neuronal regrowth in the brain, and it promotes nerve regrowth. And while you're breathing in that 95% oxygen, because it's what they call mild hyperbaric oxygen therapy as opposed to full on. So what it does, I'm breathing that in, that 95% oxygen is pushing it 400% deeper into my tissues. So what's happening is, say you've got an injury or a nerve problem, it's forcing that oxygen in, which is forcing your body then to be able to promote health and regrowth in whatever it is, even if it's skin cells. It's good for your skin. It promotes regrowth and rejuvenates your whole body. At the end of the day, that's what we are, isn't it? Oxygen's a big part of what we are.
Yeah. Part of the life
so I'm on that. I haven't noticed. I'm being honest. I haven't noticed anything definite as yet, but I've got to just keep at it. I've got a red light therapy unit which I use on my neck injury. Again, if you read up what red light therapy does, it looks promising, may help. And then I'm on a whole range of. There's one bag of supplements, and you can see that there's about 15 in there. I'm on about 30 different supplements a day, which I have to take. But I'm also on my alternative things, as you quite rightly said. So I'm taking pure CBD oil, which is pure. It's pure extracted. So it's full THC, full CBD. Knocks you out. I take it at night. It knocks you out because you get the high.
Cannabis oil.
Yeah, cannabis oil. Yeah, and that's been proven to be neuroregenerative and neuroprotective. So that's so good for you in so many ways. Not even someone with MND. Anyone who hasn't got MND. It's a wonderful substance to take. To keep yourself fit, keep yourself healthy. Believe it or not, and it loads up your ECS in your body, which is another system which is fairly recently been discovered. And your endocannabinoid system is your protective system in your brain. That's the system that when your body kicks in, when you load it up enough with CBD and THC and other compounds, your brain then kicks in to say, right, come on, let's send out our T regulatory cells here. Let's defend ourselves. We're getting attacked. Our body's getting attacked. So there's a lot of good that could come from that. So I'm on that. I actually have started psilocybin, which is a hallucinatory compound from the magic mushroom family of plants. So there's about 140 different mushrooms which give you the hallucinogenic effect. Yeah. And all of them, they've now proven scientifically, they regrow neurons in the human brain. I don't know how again, but so obviously I've started microdosing with that. I'm very excited by that. I've started another substance called trehalose, which is a naturally occurring sugar, which they've now proven stops protein clumping in cells, which is a big part of motor neuron disease. And it stops your proteins misfolding. Again, very, very fascinating substance. It's just a natural sugar. I've started taking that. I'm binding that with coconut oil to get it to bind to the medium chain triglycerides triglycerides in the coconut oil to get that past your blood-brain barrier. Because someone could say to you now, "Oh, Adam, take turmeric. It's a great supplement, really good for you." Yeah, it is. It's a great supplement, and yeah, it is really good for you. But you will pee out 99% of that because if you're not taking it in the right form, in the right way, you can't. It won't bypass your blood-brain barrier, so it will literally do you no good at all. It's about taking the right things in the right format, in the right way. So
experiment, I suppose, and see what you're doing that you feel is having a benefit.
Yeah, it's the supplements I'm taking. I need to get them in the right parts of my body. So you've got to take certain supplements. Omega-3 oils. It's right taking omega-3 oils, but one of the omega-3 oils, the DPA, a certain acid, you don't get it in normal fish oil. So you have to take things like menhaden fish oil or certain other fish oils. You have to take krill oil as opposed to just normal fish oil because it's got a more active form of omega-3, which your body's more bioavailable and your body will take it in more. You see what I mean? So even my supplement regime has been studied and I'm always, every day I'm looking at new stuff.
But you got to, haven't you? I suppose you got that drive. You want to see, just get yourself better as much as you can until the cure.
Yeah, well, I've done something a couple of evenings ago. I've done something I never ever dreamed I'd do, and I took a hit on DMT. Which is DMT. I forget the full name of it. Actually, it's one of these drugs they all take. It completely knocks you out, hallucinate. You go into another world. So I took a hit on it because again, the DMT is the active part of the ayahuasca drink that they give you in the Brazilian rainforest. This shamanic drink, again, which has now been proven to regrow neurons in the brain. Yeah. So DMT is the active compound. So you vaporize it, put it into a thing, and you breathe it in, and I'm not joking you, mate. It was unbelievable. The strength of that compound. I'm literally talking within 1 second to the next, I was on a completely different plane in a completely different world. It was unbelievable.
It felt like it was you were talking to me now, just totally real.
it's just surreal. Yeah, I can't even explain what it was I was looking at. It was all colours and everything was moving. It was just an amazing experience, to be honest. It was second to none. That's all I can. It's the only way I can put it. Well, scary.
Well, it is. I think everything you're going through, which sort of takes me through, sort of, I suppose, as we sort of start concluding it, and is where you see this sort of going in the next 6 months. What challenges you've got to sort of try and help raise awareness for it?
Yeah. So obviously onwards and upwards with the awareness campaign. As you know, Pilgrim Bandits, which we are both part of, back me all the way, Matty and all the boys and girls. A wonderful team behind me, you being part of that. So our next, we got a few challenges lined up next year. So we're looking at coast to coast up north there. Yep. It's about 2, 3 or 4 day trek, and we'll probably do that. Hopefully, a big joint event with Challenging MND, a charity who I did the Lift a Million Kilos with, Alex, and his charity. Yes. So he was a GB decathlete, and he's got it. And he's a good lad. So we're going to look at doing coast to coast with them and pilgrims. We've got the skydiving in front of Everest. I don't know if you've heard about that one. So Matt's arranged with ex-regiment lad. One of the ex-regiment boys runs the company that does the skydiving over Everest. So we're looking next November. We're looking at going out there and skydiving over Everest.
Yeah, that looks fantastic. I did email them the other day about that. I said, "Oh, I'll come and do it," but. I'm not having someone strapped to me. I'll just do the jump on my own. Thank you very much.
You'd want to do it on your own, mate, wouldn't you? With your,
he said, he said to me, "Well, you can do, mate, but you got to get 100 jumps in this year." I was like, "Mate, no one's got 100 jumps in this year."
Who's going to get that in?
Exactly. Not.
I mean, even him, even Matt. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I would have thought even I don't know if Matt's kept his hours in with it. Even Matt would probably have to go on a tandem, wouldn't he?
And anyone that jumps, once they stop jumping, they're quite glad of it. You only jump when you have
to. Yeah, exactly. So we've got that lined up. We've got a cold water swim. What you like in cold water?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I love watching people getting cold water.
Yeah. So what we've got, if you're up for it, Dino, old Nusser Dean Ash, ex-pro bodybuilder. He's set yet another ridiculous challenge, which is so we've done the 24-hour lunges in the gym, which was unbearable. That was ridiculous. You do 2 minutes of lunges, it kills. Yeah. So we done 24 hours of lunges like a month and a half ago in the gym to raise awareness. That was a big thing. We got a lot of celebrity input. Duchess of York and what have you backs us as well. So cold water swim. So it's a mile in cold water. You got to swim. Can't have a wetsuit on. It's just got to be literally budgie smugglers. And it's got to be in no more than 5 degrees, the water. So 5 degrees or less. That's painful, mate. That's painful. I was at the Lido last weekend with Dino. We was up there at 7 o'clock in the morning at Parliament Hill Lido in Hampstead. At 7 o'clock in the morning thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? What am I doing here? My hands and feet went numb. I was in a wetsuit. And obviously with my MND, my muscles are wasting my hands. So you do feel it like really badly with MND. But I was just thinking, what the hell? That's going to be a beast of a challenge, mate. You're going to have to be in that water for about 45 minutes, remember, for that challenge.
Well, I'll certainly come along and support you. And if I feel like it, I'll jump in.
I'll
just do it. If you're doing it, we're all there to support each other.
Yeah, see how you feel. See how, I'll try and get, we'll try and get who we can. I know Reese, the Welsh lad.
Well, he was swimming in, where were we? We were up to Scotland or wherever when we met up with you guys on the John O'Groats land. He was straight in the water. So absolutely free. But he's Welsh, isn't he? So they're used to being wet and cold.
Yeah, he's used to it. They run away from the sheep. It's the only way the sheep can go, isn't it? He's got to have a candle. I mean, the sheep have run out of land to run away from, so they're running the water. So unless you can handle the water, you're not going to be able to get those sheep, are you? Yeah, I'm sure they'll forgive me. Being half Welsh, I'm sure they'll forgive me.
Sure they will. Well, they're all in lockdown at the moment, so the sheep have got a bit of a reprieve.
Yeah.
But that sort of, we take up a lot for your time tonight, but I mean, it's been fantastic having you on, and what a journey.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
And, we're here. Obviously, we're going to continue this journey with you, and we're going to help promote and get the MND out there. Obviously, you've got the Duchess of York who's doing a lot of stuff and promoting it, and I think there is a cure around the corner, and let's just sort of keep you going and get you to that cure.
That's it, mate. That's it. Just keep the awareness.
We are going to keep that awareness going, mate.
That's it. Let's keep it going. Whether it's behind rose-tinted spectacles, a pint, whatever it's behind, mate, we just got to keep it going. Keep that awareness campaign going.
You've got to keep talking about it.
Talk about it, and Martin, in fact, I've got to hold Martin to it. You're right, hand man, Martin. All right. He said he reckons January he'll have me up jumping out. I've never done a parachute jump, by the way, remember. I've never jumped. So he reckons he'll have me up by January jumping.
We'll get you
so
down,
let's see.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously down on Western, isn't he? So he'll be able to get you up jumping, no problem. We'll strap you in.
Yeah. So let's see. Maybe you'll come down on that one.
I'll watch.
Yeah.
But one question I ask all the guests when they come on is 3 things you can't live without. So, if you're going on holiday or you're going out the door, what are your 3 must-haves?
What items?
Could be anything. It could be 3 items, 3 people, 3. These are the 3 things
definitely.
With you.
I couldn't live without my wife. Definitely, Arlene. She is my right hand girl. She's a good girl, and she does everything for me. Even if I don't need it, she does it all for me. So I couldn't be without her. Definitely number 1. My boys, without a doubt, number 2. Chris, Solly, Jake, and Lucas. Without a doubt, they are my heartbeat and my positive beat. When I think about my situation and what I'm in, I only have to think of them or look at them, and it makes me smile, makes me feel positive, and think, no, I'm going to be around. I've got to. Right. And number 3, my CBD oil, mate. My CBD oil. It's got to go with me. And if people get on it and realise, they'll realise what I'm talking about. So.
Well,
yeah,
I'll give it a go. But I'm hearing a lot about CBD oil and a lot of the positives. But
mate,
sounds like it's pharmaceutical companies that are probably trying to dampen that down.
Yeah, they're not going to tell you how good it is because they don't. They haven't got a license for it, have they? They haven't got a sole license. They're not going to tell you how good mushrooms are as well because they don't want you to go out in the field and pick them yourself and keep yourself healthy, do they? They want you to take their drugs.
Yeah, who knows where?
So they're my 3 things, matey.
Well, they are 3 fantastic things, and what a wonderful journey you've taken us on today. I hope anyone that's listening to this sort of listens to what John said, and if there's any way you think you can help, you can just share, talk about MND. If there's anyone you can help sponsor an event, you can come in on board with the Pilgrim Bandits, give some money, anything.
Yeah.
Let's just get the word out there and let's try and find a cure for this.
Yeah, Pilgrim Bandits disease. All the way. Yeah, I'm more than happy. The awareness is the big thing, the campaign. But if anyone wants to donate money, donate it to Pilgrim Bandits, and we know that they're close to our heart. They are amazing charity. They have helped me untoward in every way. They supplied me the oxygen chamber. That's a 20-odd grand oxygen chamber. These boys and girls really are there to help us. So yeah, let's plug them.
We'll do. It's great for the PB charity, and obviously they're there to help you and others. We're one big family. So
that's right, we are, mate. Moving. We are.
Well, brilliant. Thanks for coming on. It's Another Man's Shoes.
My pleasure, mate.
Journey of John
My pleasure, Ed. Yeah, take care, mate. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, buddy. See you soon. Well, that was John Chart on our episode of Another Man's Shoes, and I think everyone will agree that he's just given a fantastic recount of his life to date, and probably not many people that listen to that who weren't touched in some way. I mean, John has obviously been hit hard in both the fire service and his family life, and motor neurone certainly hasn't helped at all, but he is really sort of taking the fight to motor neurone, and some of the things that he said, he is trying all of the different methods, be it traditional or non-traditional, or medication and alternative therapies to try and beat this horrible disease. So I think everyone that's out there, if anyone is able to give him any support in any way, then please do so. The best way of sort of contacting or being able to donate to the challenge is to go to pilgrimbandits.org, and via there you can make a donation and make contact. So thank you, John, for coming on the show. For everyone else that's been listening, please continue to follow and subscribe to our channel. Leave feedback in the usual way. That's us for now. See you soon.